we should talk about coaches first. The Bears got a new coach, Matt Eberflus.
Defensive guy.
Defensive guy. So that was my question because I'm having to defend a guy I don't know anything about. And I'll be honest, like
Colts, right?
Yeah, Colts defensive
Where'd he
coordinator.
come from before there?
He was Colts. Before that, he was linebackers coach for the Cowboys. He is Maction, Toledo.
He
played
coached
at Toledo.
He coached the Cowboys, their linebackers and their defense for a while when they had some pretty good years.
Yeah, Sean Lee.
The Mares.
Made Sean Lee.
Sean Lee play well when he was healthy.
When he was healthy, those few games a year. So my question to you, Jules, because I am defending myself, and I got to be honest, like I don't care who the Bears hire because I've completely flipped my opinion that organizations fail players and fail coaches. So this new regime of Matt and Ryan is probably going to be fired, which that is very funny that they just did that again. Probably going to be fired in a few years anyway.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Matt
people
and
make
Ryan.
a lot of jokes online. Tell me, Jules, does it matter that we have what hopefully is our franchise quarterback in Justin Fields and we just hired a defensive coordinator? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I was a little conflicted.
Ooh.
You have a young quarterback, and we've seen with all these other teams when they're surrounding these guys with those quarterback whisperers, whatever you want to call it, these offensive-minded coaches, we've seen a lot of success. And it's tough, but then you look at it on the other side, the Chicago Bears, what do you think about when you think of the Chicago Bears?
Quarterbacks.
Yeah, running the football, playing defense, and never
85
doing forward
Bears
passes.
defense. You
Yes.
think about defense, and I guess they're going to live up to that. They just want to have a defensive-minded coach. I personally would have went the opposite direction.
Okay,
Well, they tried doing that last time, though.
They tried to do it last
Nagy
time.
brought
that
him to the
time-
playoffs 2 years.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And, well, the speculation now is that they're going to hire Pep Hamilton as the offense coordinator because he's got a big history with Eberflus.
Yeah.
And Pep, I think, is like, he's a guy that his name has been tossed around constantly.
Where'd he come from?
He was in Indy for a while with Andrew Luck.
Okay.
He was a DC Defenders head coach. He was my head coach.
Mhm.
He cut me. He's been around. Like, he's universally respected in the NFL. So I feel like if you can get a good offensive coordinator in there, that's
what you have to do.
Yes.
Counterpoint to what you just said, Sean McDermott and Brandon Staley. And you could say Brandon Staley, like, maybe the offense, didn't hit its heights this year with Justin Herbert, but those are two defensive guys that got hired with two young quarterbacks that you're trying to get the most out of.
McDermott, he's a great manager of men.
That's what I need.
You think.
That's all I need.
But the reason they're having so much success, I think, is Daboll, Brian Daboll. This guy knows offensive football. I was around him for like 2 or 3 years when he was with the Pats, and he was an eager guy, and he loved just drawing up the craziest plays and doing what he's doing right now with Josh Allen. The problem with that is he's probably not going to be there next year. So, like, it's tough to go defensive-minded coach because say you're a defensive-minded coach, you bring in an awesome offensive coordinator, and then all of a sudden this guy does real well, then he's gone.
Okay.
So why wouldn't you just keep the offensive-minded coach with the quarterback that you have for the next 15 years, hopefully?
So my counterpoint to that would be I would do anything for the Bears to have an offense so good that we're losing coaches. That's a problem I would love to have because that would mean they had some success. That would mean Justin Fields looks good. Like, you can't think, well, we might lose a guy, so this could be a problem down the road. Like, I want to have that problem. I want the Bears in 3 years to be like, man, their offensive coordinator is such a genius. He's going to go get a head coaching job.
I mean, they're weaving in while other teams are wagging. I mean, you look at like the Packers; they're an offense you got to try to stop.
Well, you
Minnesota,
can easily because Aaron Rodgers is a loser.
You said that. And then you have Minnesota, which is an explosive offense. We'll see what they're going to do next year with all the new change that they're going to have. So I don't know. That I scratched my head when I saw that.
That's fair. I think at the end of the day, it's like you just hope that he can hire the right guys for Justin Fields. My point more is that I think we overrate how much the head coach has to do with actual coaching of the quarterback. Wouldn't you say? Like the head coach, and obviously you're speaking from a different experience because Belichick got his hands in everything, but I feel like the head coach doesn't have the time to sit there with the quarterback. You need a really good quarterback coach. You need a really good offensive coordinator.
That's not true.
Oh, okay, so
That's
I'm
not
wrong.
true. Yeah, I mean,
I could be wrong.
Belichick used to have a 3-hour meeting every Monday on like right after you get your weights in with the quarterbacks, and he would sit there and have his take on the quarterbacks from a defensive mind, offensive mind. Bill's every kind of mind. He's called plays on all three phases, so like it's different with him. So you're going to have that time to be able to put in. I mean, you look at Cliff Kingsbury. He's the head coach. But, I mean, they went to the playoffs this year. He's developing Kyler.
Did they?
Did they go to the playoffs?
They were like halfway there.
Did they actually? Do you remember them in the playoffs?
I'm not going to give the Cardinals credit for a playoff appearance. And like he couldn't win in the Big 12 with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes wasn't the first overall pick.
That offense is explosive. They went on they had like a 5-game stretch where they went and beat some really good football teams. I know it was early in the year.
Yeah.
And it's tough to but as an overall, we're talking about the Arizona Cardinals 3 years ago. I mean, they were nothing.
All right, so it's a bad hire by the Bears, you're saying?
I don't know if it's a bad. I just think I personally I would go with an offensive-minded coach for that young quarterback in Justin Fields to get they're going to be married.
I would have.
So however good this guy does, if Justin Fields doesn't do well, he's done. Justin Fields is going to be over.
I'll be honest.
I mean, this league is so crazy right now, especially with there's no patience with owners anymore.
That's a fact.
Except for the Steelers.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Just basically, if you want a job for life, either be Jeff Fisher or go play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, and I wanted Brian Dable. So I'm not saying
skee ball.
I wanted him. Dable. What did we say?
Like a skee ball.
We said he's
call
bowling
him
ball?
like a bowling ball.
He's a big D's nuts guy, right?
Yeah. Huge.
Did he ever get you with a good D's nuts?
No.
We tried to get him.
But it was crazy when we cut that guy Willis. Do you guys remember him?
No. That was his first name or second name?
His first name.
It was Willis.
Willis Cockpit in your no.
Oh, fuck.
He used to do shit like that too all the time.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's
a rare.
I wanted Brian Dable. It is a little bit of a head scratcher, but again, I think the Bears are gonna screw up no matter what. So I was bleak to begin with. I'm at least gonna give him a shot. Hope that he's a good manager of a team, manager of hiring smart people.
I mean, he got the job for a reason. He must have did well in the interview,
and probably no one else wanted.
That's
really
not,
it. Dan Quinn was the only other one who wanted.
Yeah, that would have been sweet.
I went through
do you think that Dan Quinn would have stayed? If he gets a job being a head coach next year, he's got to keep the backwards hat.
Does he
right?
want to be a head coach?
That's his thing.
He does.
Yeah, I think
he wanted to be the Bears head coach. He was a finalist. I actually went this morning. I thought it was going to be Dan Quinn. I went and searched my Dan Quinn history. Let me tell you, I had probably about 55 tweets, motherfucking Dan Quinn. It would have been a great spin zone for me if he had become head coach of the Bears.
Yeah, you always wonder on that second run about these coaches.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's a tough one. I mean, ultimately you're married to the quarterback. If you look at all these coaches, I mean, it's the quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league, especially with how the rules are predicated for the health of everyone. Like the quarterback, you're gonna go as far as your quarterback goes.
Is that a real thing though to say that? A lot of times these guys are better coaches the second time around because I feel like that's one of those examples that Belichick has screwed up for everybody else. It's because it happened to him.
Well, people don't realize.
Oh, well, if you hire a guy the second time, he might win 6 Super Bowls.
Well, people don't realize about Bill in Cleveland. It wasn't a failure.
No.
They went to the playoffs. They were the sexy pick to be Super Bowl the year that he got fired. They started off 4-0 or something, and then they announced in the middle of the night that they were leaving.
Yeah.
And I remember talking about it with Scotty O'Brien, and he said we'd show up and there'd be people picketing and at the games, people were the distractions were too big to overturn. So that's why he got fired. You can't put him in that category.
It's tough to overcome your own fan base, actively wanting to arrest you when you get to work.
Your point is right, though, and I think you got to remember it whenever a guy gets hired. The coach is very important in football, but it's the player. It's the players. Pete Carroll's second time around, obviously done well with the Seahawks. Why? Probably because of Russell Wilson. Andy Reid going from Philly to Kansas City. Why?
Too.
Yeah, the defense too. But I'm just saying, way
the team was built. So it's a synergy between the head coach, the GM. It's everything. Everything has to come into the perfect alignment.
So that's where it's going to fail for sure. But Zach Taylor, good coach, right? Why are the Bengals turning around like this? Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Like, that's Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? So,
and everyone wanted
the
to cut
players.
his head off, before the season or last year after they went, 2-14?
Yeah, when Joe Burrow got hurt. But,
Yeah.
all right, so.
What about you mentioned Cliff and Kyler and the Cardinals? I've got to take that might be wrong, but just from a body language perspective, something that I've noticed about Kyler in the last maybe 3 games of the regular season.
Careful, you're going to get blocked.
Going into bring it on, Kyler. Kyler doesn't block anybody. And then in that playoff game, the body language from him, like, he never had any of his teammates ever around him on the sideline. I know that I'm sounding like Colin Cowherd because this is very much a take that he would have. But usually you would expect that if you have a star quarterback, the guy that runs your offense, the guy that essentially controls everything on the field, a game changer, he would have some friends around him occasionally on the sidelines. And he always looked like he was either bored or like very sad to be at the games.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I think that does make a difference. And then I tried to back it up a little bit more and thought, remember he got hurt in that game against the Packers. He got like a sprained ankle on that late scramble. And then he missed a couple games after that. Could you see a situation where his own teammates would be like, why isn't our quarterback trying to play on a sprained ankle? He's been out for 2 weeks already.
I wouldn't go that far, but with the body language, I definitely saw that was very standoffish. That's not what you want to see from your leader. And that could be because, I mean, Kyler's still a young guy. I mean, this is a new generation of players as well. I don't know anything specific like how this guy is, but if I was an outside guy looking at that and seeing my quarterback in the most high-pressure situation, kind of being over to himself, and he did have he had that, like, forever stare a few times.
It's like maybe he's upset that his teammates weren't like promoting his Twitch streams enough for when he's playing Warzone.
Face Clan.
That's going around a lot.
I don't know about that, but these are the new distractions you're going to have to deal with the new player. It's going to be this Twitch streams, the social media, like that's either going to, but then you look at a guy like Josh Allen. This guy spits leadership. Like, he's sweating it out of his face, how fired up he gets, how he goes and celebrates with his teammates. He doesn't do his own little war dance. He's over everything's about, you know what I mean?
He spits leadership, and his coach is a manager of men.
Yeah.
I like that.